And welcome back to the official CanyonChasers podcast, the braking zone where we slow down a little bit. I mean, that's what the whole braking zone is supposed to be about, that we're on the brakes. We're putting some thought into what comes next.
Don't rush your entrances.
Don't rush your entrance. That's what we're about. I'm Dave, moto journalist, YouTuber, journalist background, riding coach, 25-year professional riding coach.
He's a non-crasher extraordinaire.
Non-crasher extraordinaire. Yeah.
I am Brian. I'm an engineer. I race bikes. I have done that on the track for
multiple championships. You've won a bunch of regional championships.
Literally decades.
Yeah.
I've been doing it a very long time. Still do it. We're here to talk about bikes with you today. And in fact, today, this episode, we're going to talk about lots of bikes.
We're going to talk about bikes. Yeah. Apparently, Brian says he has a bunch of categories that he's going to ask me my opinion on.
Every year, all the magazines come out with their little listicles.
Right. Top 10 best.
Top 10 of this.
Right. And we all know what the answers are before they come out.
All right. Let's get to the list here. So, Dave with CanyonChasers, if you guys aren't familiar, does lots and lots and lots and lots of miles, lots of touring all over the U.S., every which way you can think of. I want to know, Dave, in 2025, at the end of 2025, so you could pick a 26 model as well.
All right.
All of the bikes on this list have to be current bikes.
Bikes that I can buy now. I can't go back into the past.
Yep. Someone could go to the dealer and buy it now.
Okay.
What is the best long-haul touring bike?
Well, the correct answer is the Goldwing, but the Goldwing isn't for everybody. Goldwing's amazing. I think that's what wins the magazine's best touring bike every year, forever and always. So how you tour, I think, really is how you answer that question. I think any of the adventure style bikes make really good touring bikes. Mm-hmm. The BMWs, even the GS makes a good touring bike. What's their new one? The R1300 RT, the new R1300 RT is exceptional. Mm-hmm. But for me, if I'm riding across America, my favorite touring bike has to be, no one's going to believe me for this. I know, no one's going to believe me when I say this answer. I absolutely adore, with great affection, touring on a Road King. I love touring on a Road King.
Harley Road King.
A Harley Davidson Road King. There is something about, especially it's like the Road King, it doesn't have all the fancy stuff. It just has a big, clear plastic fender. It's their touring platform with the bags. It's awesome. But there's something really joyful about riding a freaking Road King across America. There is an X factor to that bike that I can't quantify. I like it more than the Road Glide. I like it more than the Ultra Classics. I love me a Road King. Love the Road King.
We are off to a smashing start because I absolutely did not pick that as your...
Yeah, if I was riding across Europe, I absolutely would not take a Road King, right? The Road King is a bike built for
America,
for where it is, right? Like it's a bike built and across Europe, I would definitely want to be on something smaller and sportier, but for crossing America.
So when I think about across America, right, I'm thinking a lot of highway,
right?
A lot of maybe some interstate. Hopefully you're avoiding it.
Well, let's think about crossing America in the most quintessential way. Let's say you want to ride across America. What road are you going to ride on? You're going to do Route 66.
Sure.
What's the perfect bike for riding Route 66?
It's got to be a Harley, I guess.
It's going to be a Road King. It's going to be because it looks the part. It's cool. These are small little roads that go through small little towns. It's like if I'm going to blast the interstate, right, which is absolutely not at all appealing to me. I've done it plenty. I don't enjoy it. Yeah, a Goldwing's going to slay. It's going to do better. And a Goldwing is incredibly capable. It'll handle the really tight twisty stuff better than the Harley will. But if you're crossing the country, there's not that much of those kind of roads. Most of the roads are going to be, especially like if you're doing it the right way, you're going to be just like on county roads, 2-lane blacktop, just meandering your way through.
I think that's actually a great thing that everybody should try to do at some point.
I agree. Everybody should try to do.
Because I have this debate a lot of times with people where when they go on vacations, they want to go to Europe, they want to go to the Caribbean, they want to leave the country. And a lot of times I think when you live out west, we end up seeing so many different facets of this country without leaving the country, right?
Right.
And I'm not saying you shouldn't go see the places. You absolutely should go see Europe and these other things, but there's a lot here to see. And I think a motorcycle like the Road King, like you're explaining, is like the best way to go do it. You're so exposed to it. You're part of the scenery. You're not just looking at it.
There is something romantic to the idea of, if I'm touring England, wouldn't you want to do it on a Triumph?
Sure, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if I'm riding through Italy, wouldn't I want to do it on a Moto Guzzi or something like that? Right? And yeah, like if you're going to ride across America, do it on an American motorcycle.
Well, I'm enjoying this list already.
You can argue that the Indian and the Polaris is such a much more modern version of the American Cruiser, but I kind of like the raw, original Harley version. I really do.
There's something romantic about the unpolishedness of some of these like old air-cooled Harleys.
Yeah, my dad's a Harley man, and I remember he was struggling with doing like jetting. It's like a single carb. They're so unbelievably simple, right? And he was having a hard time jetting the carb or whatever. And so I was helping him out, and I'm sitting here in front of this air-cooled engine with the two big giant chrome-covered hydraulic push rods.
Right.
It gave me this intense sense of nostalgia that I never experienced, of like, this looks like I'm looking at a portion of a radial engine from a World War II bomber, right? It felt like I was looking at just a little piece of that. And you got this kind of misty connection to the past that makes no sense. And I'm not one who's enamored by heritage and tradition or any of that stuff, but there was something really neat about sitting there in front of this antique thing that still kind of works.
I like this list so far.
Yeah. We went on and on about Harley a little longer.
No, that was good. That was perfect. All right. What bike? And so I want your take on this, because you have the chance to go get to ride a lot of these bikes.
Well, yeah, and you don't tour, so that's probably why you don't have an opinion on a tour bike, right?
I don't want to ride any of them. No, I'm teasing. I have toured before in the past. For me and my lifestyle right now, it's just not for me.
Well, it's just not your jam, right? I think before we dive deeper in, I want to quote my dear friend Tim, and he has always said, I have met a lot of motorcycles that I didn't want to own, but I've never met a motorcycle I didn't want to ride.
Yep.
And that's been my approach to all motorcycles. There's a lot on this list. I don't think I would ever own a Road King, but I certainly enjoy riding it, right? And so I think all bikes deserve love, whether if they're for you or for not.
Speaking of bikes that deserve love that aren't getting it, what is the most underrated bike available today?
This one's easy for me. And this is funny because a friend of mine just called and he's shopping for a motorcycle. John, if you're listening. He called and he asked me, he's like, I'm looking at this bike and this bike. And his dad owned a Kawasaki dealership when he was a kid. So he really wanted a Kawasaki. And he was explaining to me what kind of riding he wanted to do and the experience he was after. And he's like, I'm looking at this Kawasaki and this Kawasaki and this Kawasaki and maybe this Yamaha. And I said, John, the bike you want is the CB650R with the E-Clutch.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I don't know. And I was like, well, just give it a look, see. I get a call from him 2 days later, and he's like, that has to be one of the best motorcycles I have ever ridden. And it looks amazing. We had like a 20-minute conversation of him just talking to me about how much he loved looking at this motorcycle. And it's a bike that nobody pays any attention to.
It gets no mentions.
I think Cycle World listed the Hornet 750 as their like naked bike of the year. And I get, it's a good bike. I rode it. I liked it a lot. But I like the CB650R significantly more. I am not one who loves inline fours typically. They're not my jam. I like torquey, more unique engines than
you
fours.
like the sound of a V4
or
a
V-twin or like more eccentric motors. Like when we grew up, inline fours were everywhere, and so they were kind of blasé.
Yeah.
But that thing reminded me about why inline fours are kind of special. And they're kind of going away, right? Because they're more expensive than a parallel twin. Everything now is turning into a parallel twin. So riding that inline four, and it has the four pipes that come out the one side and they tighten and it comes out the side. It's like the old Triumphs did that back in the day. The old Triumph triples did that with the three pipes that came in. It looks so great, and it is a joy to ride.
I think that's a fantastic pick. So years ago, I used to work at a Honda dealership, right? So you mentioned for your long haul touring bike, and you said, well, really, probably a Goldwing is the sensible decision, but you would take the Harley. When I was working there was when, and I'm struggling to pinpoint the name of the bike, but they came out with like a street version of the Goldwing. It basically had no top trunk.
Oh yeah, I can't remember what it was called either. It looked really cool.
It had like a kind of a chopped lower windshield.
And it didn't have a third bag. It just had the saddle bags.
Yep, no top bag. Looked great. We had 2 of them to sell on the floor. And I remember getting to take one just down and back on the road a couple times. I loved it. It's not at all a bike I'd ever buy, but I was like, this thing's it's perfect. It does everything I want it to do. I love that flat 6.
Yeah, no, that motor is
amazing.
That. Yeah, and honestly, that version of the Goldwing was the equivalent. It was the Honda equivalent of the Road King, right? Because the Road King doesn't have the third bag. It has like that kind of mobster, chopped look, right? Like what was that Sylvester Stallone movie, that really terrible one, Cobra? Whatever, where he's a bounty hunter and he had that like chopped top Ford Roadster or whatever. Yep. That Goldwing looked like that, right?
This is why people tune into our podcast.
Arrow
and it's for your random movie references.
A 1980s movie.
That's why they're here. But anyway, where I'm coming back to that was I was also there when we started selling the original, the CB650s. And there was 3 different versions, if I remember right. There was a 650F, which was the naked 2-bar style with the 4 pipes coming.
Yeah, I thought they were parallel twins.
And then so the 500s were twins.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, the 500s were twins. And then there was a 650R, which was like a fared version. I didn't really care for the fared version as much, but they were an absolute peach of a bike. And the new version with the E-Clutch, it is the most Honda. It's like the quintessential Honda.
Yeah,
it is.
It really is, right?
Technical. It's clever. It's extremely well put together. That bike will last forever.
Yeah, axe heads will wear out faster than that engine, right?
It may not be always the most like exciting, like grab your attention bike, but it is going to be perfect all the time, forever.
So they do the same thing now. You can get the CB650R, which is the fully fared one. It looks like a CBR 600. It has the red, white, and blue, and it looks great.
Right.
But when I did the test of them, we were riding both of them back to back. I didn't want to give up the 2-bar one.
No, yeah.
Even on the racetrack, like we spent the first half of the day on a racetrack and the second half of the day on the street. The 2-bar one was, it had like this X factor that I can't really quantify, that it was. And if you don't think it's exciting or you're not picturing it in your head, it's because you haven't actually looked at it and looked at it in person. There's so much really great detail to it. It has these little scoops on the side with the honeycomb mesh, and it's this really fantastic single stage gray paint on the tank with like magnesium colored wheels. The thing looks like, the attention to detail on this bike, it really doesn't get any love. And it's my very favorite of all the middleweights out there.
So it is, I think, a great example. And we're kind of gushing on Honda for a second here, but when I sold the Hondas, we sold other Japanese brands as well in the same dealership. And when you're around them constantly, you do notice the difference. There is a fit and finish difference with a lot of the Honda models that you just don't see the same level of effectively craftsmanship or build quality.
Yeah, it's Honda. It's freaking Honda, man.
It's Honda, yeah.
Well, and I think Honda gets the reputation of being boring, like engineered to the level of boring, right? They're so perfectly engineered. They lose a little bit of that. You know, we joke like I have a lot of Ducatis and an Aprilia, right? And it's character. Character just means you're more likely to break down or whatever it is, right? And Honda won't leave you stranded. Like I
love them.
I do love them too. And you know, I joke a lot about Honda, that Honda's motto should maybe be changed to Honda, maybe next year, right? Because they always have like on the horizon this thing that is potentially so amazing, but they never actually build it.
Are you trying to tell me that the V3 e-compressor is never going to be a production bike?
If we were to look at Honda's past, that's like, because we are all so excited about it. Well, and like, they're the V4 company.
Yeah.
They like the RC30, the RC45, the original V4s or VFRs. And VFRs just got heavier and slower and heavier and slower. And they're still an amazing motorcycle. I have friends today that still, they swear by their VFRs, their VFR 750s. But I've always wondered, what if they made a V4 Multistrada or, you know, or what they could do with like a V4 Superbike, because they're the V4 company. You know, but maybe next year, maybe next year.
So I want to talk about my favorite open category.
Open bike, full tilt.
Literally no CC limit, whatever you want to get. If I was going to get again, I don't want to say price no object because I'm excluding the homologation specials because only I think 500 souls in the whole world are going to get one of those.
Okay.
So I'll take those out for a second.
Maybe we should circle back to a no holds barred question later on.
Okay.
So let's do a reasonable open bike.
So if I was going to go get a bike and I was like, oh man, I want to go do track days and I want the fastest thing out there, or maybe I want to dip my toe into club racing and see what that's like. I think the bike right now that I would go get, because I think it's the most turnkey open bike that's the fastest thing.
I'm really curious because I have the one I think you would probably choose.
Yeah, and I'll get to that part too. I actually think if you want the one that's like basically ready to go when you buy it, it's the BMW S1000.
I knew you were going to pick the S1000
Yeah.
RR.
It is just the most. Pick it up from the dealer, throw it in your truck, go to the track, and it is going to be an absolute monster.
Oh, it's a weapon. We see them all the time. Yeah. People show up who are good riders, not great riders, but they're good riders, and they'll be keeping up with great riders.
It is a phenomenal machine. The technology on them is amazing. My favorite story about BMW, when their very first version of the S1000 that they came out with, which...
You and I test rode that. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
it was like the very first version. We were given one to test.
And it was like this acid yellow green color.
I kind of like the color. It had the two different headlights.
Had the goofy winking headlight.
I loved the two different headlights.
But I remember riding on the track, and this was a brand new bike to all of us, and I was like, expletives. Like, this is so much fast for a production bike that's not tuned at all, has a catalytic converter on it.
Well, don't they have it has to have so many miles on it before they'll even unlock the red line?
Yeah, so ours were all unlocked. They broke them in or whatever, so they were all unlocked. It was a missile. It was insanely fast for a production bike. But my favorite part about it was when they first got them, I remember them going to a fairly prominent engine builder that does Moto America race engines.
I remember.
And he pulled the thing apart. The first one he got his hands on immediately, takes it out, pulls the thing apart, looks at the head, checks it out with the team, and then they put it all back together and they're like, I don't think there's much for us to do here. Like, it was already beautifully polished inside, and he's like, I don't think we're gonna make it any better. It's probably good to go.
Don't you think
and they put the head back together.
Extremely cool that the company that made its mark making big lurpy derpy telelever adventure bikes just decided one day we're going to make a super bike, and the freaking S1000RR shows up and just put the world on its ear.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
and it's still an amazing thing. And I've never owned one. Ironically, like, I love the bikes. I've never actually owned one. It absolutely did that from a production perspective, like a showroom perspective. I think it is the most capable thing that you buy right off the showroom right now. Now, when a lot of people will point to World Superbike or other places and like, oh, look, see, it's not as good as the Ducati. It's not as good as the whatever. The worlds apart the production bike is from the World Superbike.
Yeah, I don't know if many people recognize that there is, even the homologated specials, there's still a pretty big gap between what's on the grid at World Superbike and what you're buying, right? Yeah. Like, do you remember our friend Shane, he got the homologated Ducati to race, but it was actually not the same frame. It wasn't a steel trellis frame. It was like an overbore aluminum trellis frame that looked like the steel. But so from a glance, you're like, oh yeah, it's the same thing. But that frame by itself was probably 20 grand.
Right.
You know?
There's all kinds of that sort of stuff that you just can't look at World Superbike and go like, oh, well, I'll buy the one that's on the podium. Like, sure, if you like it, buy the one that's on the podium because it's probably a great bike, full stop anyway. But don't think that what you're buying is that thing.
Yeah, we're racing nerds, and we will absolutely, whatever's winning on Sunday, I'm going to be enticed to buy. Why have you never owned an S1000RR? Because that seems totally the bike you would get.
Maybe I will someday. It's just never... So part of the problem when you go racing, it's the reason why, as much as I love Ducatis, Mr. Ducati, but why you don't see almost any Ducatis at a club race is because everything that's a Ducati, if you want to go club racing, just assume everything costs about 2 to 3 times as much.
I would never race a Ducati. I own several of
too
them.
expensive.
I will tell you flat out, I wouldn't race them.
That's why most guys are on Japanese bikes and things like that. Yeah.
If I was to race if I were to race super bikes, I'd get the Honda. I'd get the CBR 1000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it would,
very cool bike.
Or the ZX10. The ZX10, I think, is also incredibly capable. I don't gel that well with the R1s, even though I really like them. I really want to like them every time I ride them. I don't gel with them. Same thing with the R6. They just didn't work for me.
Yep.
But
yes, and some of those are like a track bike or a race bike, especially. It's a tool.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to love the bike if it works how it needs to, and ideally, you don't even think about the bike. That's ideal.
Well, yeah, you want it to be, I think the term is transparent, right?
You don't even think about the
forget
thing. Yeah.
You raced a CBR 600 that was it was an Ulrich bike, wasn't it?
A Team Hammer bike. Yep.
It was a Team Hammer bike, right? So, Chris
so
Ulrich built it up, right?
Yeah.
And what were your thoughts on that thing? Because you didn't keep it for very long. It was one of my favorites of your.
So most of the time, my race bikes last about 2 years, and then I'll sell it and get the next thing. It was, and to this day, still probably the best front end on a bike I've ever had. I felt like, we're totally off subject now, but I felt like with that CBR 600 coming into corners, you could get away with murder. You could be absolutely reckless with how late you could go to the brakes, and it would just stop and it would turn, and it just didn't care. You could do whatever you wanted on the front end on that bike. It felt almost invincible on that thing.
I remember riding yours, and I remember at the time that you had yours, I did a thing with Continental where they flew me down to their test track down in Uvalde, Texas, and they had basically every bike in the fleet all on the same tires, and they did this so you could see how their tires performed on different bikes. And I remember jumping from the Gixxer 600 at the time, the R6, the CBR, like across the gamut. And as soon as I got on the CBR 600, I was instantly turning quick laps.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know they were there to make me like look at the tires and test their tires and whatever, but it really cemented to me that CBR, like, it wasn't the most exciting thing. Everybody kind of overlooked it. But it was the one I kept trying to grab the keys for.
So the current CBR. So this is the unfortunate reality of modern sport bikes, especially middleweights. The current CBR, it effectively came out in 2008.
Well, yeah, like
it's not really been substantially updated since 2008, right? So almost we're getting near on 20 years now without a significant update, a new chassis, nothing. It is still so good. It is such a good bike. And I could probably gush about the CBR 600 for like 30 minutes on all the clever little tech bits that it still has that still nobody else is doing.
Didn't they do that ProLink rear suspension or something like that?
I think the ProLink is really clever. It came from MotoGP.
Yeah.
That was derived from that RC211 their first V5. It's a clever system. The shock basically doesn't mount to the frame anywhere.
Which is insane when you look at it. You start looking at it, you're like...
Yeah, you look at it, you're like, what am I seeing exactly?
Something seems wrong.
Why is it? Yeah. It mounts to the top of the swing arm, sits inside the swing arm, and then mounts to the linkage on the bottom, which then it connects to the frame, right?
Which is so...
Clever little idea.
Yeah.
It does... The trade-off... And in fact, they've gone away from the unit ProLink on the current CBR 1000, the RRR, whatever. I think it does create more unsprung mass, right? So you are dealing with that situation, but it meant that the frame wasn't compromised by having an extra spar for the top of the shock to mount to. And so the fuel tank drops like into the bike vertically.
Right.
It's very centralized. It's a really clever little system. Anyway, back to the BMW. So I'll wrap up. I think it is still the best open bike you can go get. If you just want something off the showroom that you can take straight to a track day and have an absolute riot, I think you'd be pretty hard pressed. I mean, all the open bikes are good. That BMW is pretty spectacular.
Well, their technology package, I think, is also just one step ahead of everybody else's as well.
Yeah.
It's not a bike that really excites me or draws my eye in an emotional way, but you can't deny how just good it is.
Yeah. All right. Next bike. What is, Dave, what is the best non-GS adventure bike?
So this is the only niche in America that is performing really well. Adventure bikes
Yeah.
are really competitive in America, and I've tested a handful of them this year. Um, I it's so hard because the adventure bikes can go from like really big to kind of middleweights. I'm going to discount the really big adventure bikes right off the bat because that's going to be my bias because I'm small. I'm overwhelmed by
So you're talking like the 1300-ish,
like the
the big ones.
1300s, the Africa Twin, the 1100.
What's the big KTM? Is it 13?
Yeah, and it's like freaking it's an insane horsepower number on that thing. And like I know there are people, I know people personally who I've seen them on these things and they ride it like it's a 350. And it is a sight to behold, like
Right.
what they're capable of doing. But me as a mere mortal and me as someone who dirt is kind of a secondary love for me, those big bikes are really overwhelming. And riding the big bikes on the dirt, I'm riding in abject fear. I really am. They're heavy. If I drop them, can I pick them up? I've been in situations where they have fallen over and I can't lift them up because the tires won't grip and they just slide away from me. And I'm not strong enough to get it up.
To just pry it straight up.
Yeah. And so it makes them less fun to me. Now, as much as I love all the other ones, there was one adventure bike, and I think you know where I'm going with this, that really captured my heart. It was this Chinese e-bike that's sitting behind you. No, it was the Touareg Rally, specifically the Rally.
Yeah.
That Touareg Rally, if you haven't seen that video, you need to go watch that video. But that was supposed to be like an off-road Morocco Paris-Dakar stage bike. And I freaking rode it across Nevada and on mountain roads with knobbly tires on it. I couldn't believe how good that was. Yeah. And I think all of the middleweight adventure bikes do this, right? Like the Transalp, all these middleweight adventure bikes are far better than they get the credit for. But the Touareg Rally, specifically the Rally, it had an X factor to it, right? It was a little ridiculous, but it also really captured my heart.
The thing with the adventure bikes so I don't ride the big adventure bikes either. The closest I get to the adventure bikes is either watching your videos when you're doing reviews of them or watching like Paul Torres do mental things on a Tenere. And I think he even rides the Tenere 700, which is, I think, the little one, isn't it?
Yeah, the little 10. Yeah, the little 10 is definitely the little Tenere is quite good. I got to ride that this year. Yeah. I didn't do a video on it, but I got to ride it. I quite like the little Tenere, but the little Tenere and the Transalp. So if you're going to rank them from like softest to hardest, as you were, right? And by softest I mean probably the most usable to the most focused. The Transalp is probably the one you should get. And then the 10.7, the little Tenere is just a little more aggressive than that.
And when you say aggressive, you're meaning it's a bit more off-road capable?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Okay.
Yeah, it's like the wheels are a little stronger. It's a little bit more focused.
Stiffer suspension maybe.
Yeah. And so you go from like the Transalp, which is the one you should get, and then there's the 10.7, which is, if you don't like Honda, get the 10.7. And then there's the Touareg, and then there's the Touareg Rally, right? And you're just getting to the pointier end of the stick. And there's something about the Rally, the pointier end of the one, that I thought was really fun.
Where does a thing like an Africa Twin fall into this?
The Africa Twin's a big one. It's an 1100 cc.
Okay. Is it a twin? It's a parallel twin though.
They're
right?
all parallel. Okay. Yeah. I think they all are parallel twins actually.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Actually, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. The Africa Twin I love, but the Africa Twin, and it's kind of how I see a GS. Mm-hmm. An Africa Twin, a GS 1300, Multistrada Rally or whatever. They are more of a touring bike than they are of an adventure bike.
So you look at those as like an 80% street, 20% off-road type of situation. Is that how you think?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
And you got to think of it. If you're touring across America, there's going to be situations where you're going to end up on a dirt road, or you're going to end up like in Wyoming or Montana when they do road construction. They do it in 50-mile stretches, and so you're going
horrendous.
Yeah, you're going to be on a 50-mile stretch of dirt,
Yeah.
and that's where like your GS 1300, your Africa Twin. They have spoke wheels. They're stronger, so they can deal with the rocks and the whatever better. Those bikes are magic in that scenario. So, touring in the West as opposed to touring across the whole country, a big adventure bike is a really great choice because of that. But if you actually want to like do 2-track or go find fishing holes or wander up into the mountains, I think the middleweight adventure bikes are a better platform.
So it seems to me like you really wouldn't advise going to the full size adventure bikes unless you're either carrying a ton of gear, so you're going to have 3 bags, right? A top trunk and side bags, and probably maybe even a passenger.
And if you're taking that much weight, honestly, get the GS because
then get the big one, right?
Well, because the telelever
it deals with it.
Objectively, that's what it's designed to be really good at, right? You're not going to get the dive and the wallowing. That's why the GS is so freaking popular worldwide, because you can put everything you own on it and it's going to handle exactly the same.
But if you're going to ride solo, if you're not well over 6 foot tall and it's just you and you're going out for kind of adventuring, you want to go find that fishing hole, you want to go out into the backwoods a little bit, probably those middleweight ones are a better option.
Right. And I forgot to mention like the BMW 800s or 850s or whatever they are now. Anything in that, like, or even the Ducati Desert X. I love the look of the Desert X.
Oh, it is good looking.
I really like it. But again, it's almost a little too powerful. When you ride a lot of them, even when I rode the Touareg, which was the 660, it's the smallest of them, I cranked the power down. Even you put it into like adventure mode or dirt mode or whatever the mode is, and then usually I'll throttle the power down even from there. And then they become really rideable. And so like the Desert X, as much as I love it, and I guess it always comes down to user requirements. Where do you really want to go with it, right?
I've got a couple of good questions. I don't know if we're going to get to all the questions today.
I'm surprised that we're talking as long as we are on each of these. I thought we were just going to like rattle through them, but like we're never going to fill an hour.
I am not surprised we're talking a lot. I don't think anybody listening is either. All right. If I said, hey, Dave, bad news, you have to move down to a single car garage. Your car's still going to fit in here. You've got barely enough room for a bike. What is the bike that fits in your garage?
It would definitely be one of those middleweight adventure bikes.
You think so?
Yep, it definitely would be. And it would probably be, I'd probably be torn between the Touareg Rally, a Desert X, or even a Multistrada 990, like the V2s, the smaller ones. If you can only have one bike, because it's crazy. Or do I go to a naked bike?
That's what that's where I wasn't sure where you would go with that.
Or do I do a Tuono?
All right, so I think we can narrow this down.
I don't know if I can.
Well, it's going to have a tube bar. I think we can narrow that down.
Definitely be a tube bar. I'd want to keep my Multistrada Pikes Peak.
Just so, and that's to be fair, that thing would kill at track days.
It's been on the track a lot. My Pikes Peak has been on the track more than most motorcycles.
So you heard it here first on the CanyonChasers podcast.
But it kind of sucks on the track. I'll be honest with you. It is really wallowy. I'm hitting
this thing.
Oh yeah, it has a race mode, and the race mode's a giggle, by the way. But like, I'm hitting foot pegs. I'm hitting the center stand.
I'm surprised. I thought it'd be pretty darn stiff.
No. But then like I take it over like whatever mountain road. It's been on dirt roads. Like it really is kind of like a multi-road bike, but it's big and it's heavy. If I'm still doing track days and maybe I'm not touring as much, then it would be probably a Tuono. Again, the V4. And if it was even more dirt-ish, I'd probably go to a middleweight. It depends on, like, if I have to go to that small of a garage, am I moving to a different location where the riding's different?
You're still in Utah.
Okay, so if we're still in Utah, then I'm keeping my Pikes Peak V4. That thing is
So for all those,
it's kind of a quiver killer, if we're being honest.
So for all those people out here wondering, like, man, I can only get one bike. Which one should I get?
The $30,000 one,
$35,000 Multistrada.
You don't have to get the Pikes Peak. Like I've been surprised. I have to eat a slice of humble pie. I have been ranting and raving for years about how the 17-inch front wheel is better. But I've ridden a bunch of bikes this year with 19s and 21-inch front wheels. I think the manufacturers have really sorted out the trail numbers to where the 19-inch front wheel is 90% as good as a 17-inch front wheel. So you could go to like your standard.
I'm actually going to get, so I wasn't sure if we were going to get very nerdy on this episode, but we're going to do it right now.
I love it.
Some of these bikes now, these like dual purpose adventure-ish bikes, the newer ones, if you go and look, they are running slightly wider hubs on the front wheel and slightly wider fork settings.
Mm-hmm.
So the forks are slightly wider apart, so the triple clamps are slightly wider. It is the exact same thing that happened in mountain bikes 10 plus years ago.
Right. We went from like whatever standard to
Boost plus,
Boost
blah, 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 like all these standards that aren't standard at all. But the whole point was, if I can make the hub a little wider, if I take so imagine I'm looking at a wheel and coming straight at me. So here's my rim and then here's the hub. If the spokes have to go in a perfectly straight line to the center of the hub, like a really narrow, picture a really narrow hub.
You get a lot of flex.
You get a lot of flex in those spokes, a lot of flex in the rim moving. But the wider I can make the hub, the more angle I can get on those spokes, the more solid and stable that thing gets. And I think that's part of what you're feeling now is they've figured out to go to, and it's not tons, right? You're talking millimeters.
It wouldn't take much to add a lot of strength. You're talking about triangles, right?
Yeah, because it's degrees that you're changing it. And that alone has made those front wheels way more solid feeling, even though they have the really long hoops with spokes.
Yeah, I kind of dismissed the Multistrada V4, the standard Multistrada V4, because it had a 19-inch front wheel. You can get the Africa Twin with a 21 or a 19-inch front wheel. Mrs. CanyonChaser, I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up on an Africa Twin with the 19-inch front wheel. They feel great.
Can you get good tire options on a 19 now?
You can now. And that was part of why I was always so stuck on 17-inch wheels. Yeah, okay, so a 17-inch wheel changes direction quicker. It feels more sporty. I grew up on sport bikes, right? I'm a kid of the 90s. And the 19s always, and especially the 21s, they used to always feel like you could feel that everything flexing. It was so slow to change direction. It took a lot of the joy out of it.
Yeah.
And now I really can't tell.
Right.
And I feel like I'm pretty good at feeling those things. And they're so freaking good.
Yeah.
So yeah, like anything with a 19-inch front wheel, 17-inch long travel, upright, you can do a lot with that platform.
Okay.
So it all just kind of comes down to user requirements. The Tuono is also really tempting because that V4.
That's such a good. I love that engine.
Good bike.
Well, the other problem, and you've explained this to me before, you can't get a center stand on it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's if you're a guy that does a lot of touring. Right, the center stand's a huge benefit from parking and being able to keep the chain clean.
It's more being able to lube the chain. Yeah. And I'm going to spoil. I've been working on a video. It got kind of hijacked in the middle because we had to sell a motorcycle where I put 2 chains on 2 motorcycles at the same time. One chain's getting lubrication, the other chain is not. And I'm riding them basically back to back. And I'll give you the spoiler now. The chain with absolutely no lube is holding up just as good as the chain with lube. And so I'm like...
That's been my theory for years.
It has been your theory. That's what kind of prompted it. It's like, I don't know if it really matters that much. Now, I don't ride in the rain a ton.
I think that's the difference. Yeah, if you ride in a lot of weather, I think then throw this whole thing out.
Well, and I think it also needs to be quantified. You have to run a gold chain because the gold chains have the anti-rust protection on them. If you run the standard chain that your bike comes from, that's great. We're totally getting sidetracked. But if you run the standard chain that's gray, they rust. They rust really fast. And so you need to lube those. But when you get that's what the gold is. The gold isn't bling. The gold is an anti-corrosion.
It is also bling.
It is also bling. The gold chain looks better. But anyway, yeah. So a center stand's a big deal. even if you get a flat tire, which happens, the ability to, because if you have a center stand, you can get the front wheel off with a brick because you weight.
Exactly.
And so you kind of need a center stand. And that's what killed the KTM SMT, which is a phenomenal motorcycle. There's no center stand option for it. That's right. You did have one. I love that bike. Yeah. But no center stand option. I don't know if yours had it or...
I'm trying to think. I think my 990 might... Boy, someone's going to correct me on my own bike here in a second.
You didn't have that bike for very long.
So the Quiver Killer, you might just keep what you got already.
Yeah, I think I would keep my Multistrada. It's big. It would be a compromise in a lot of places, but
it's going to be, right? If that's the only one you got and it's got to do everything, it's going to be a compromise.
And we got a question about this week because we were talking about track days. Someone said in the comments, they're afraid of doing track days because everybody they talk to says they stop riding on the street. And I chimed in and I said, that hasn't been the case for me. If I had to give up one type of riding that I do, I would give up the track first. You're obviously the opposite of that. And so if I have to give up the track, the Multistrada is amazing. It's shockingly capable in the twisties. It's more comfortable than it has any right to be when it's straight and droney. It can handle dirt roads. Multistrada, it's right there baked into the name. And I love that style of motorcycle is becoming more popular, right? Like Honda's doing it with their NT1100, which is basically, it's a Transalp chassis with a 17-inch front wheel. They have the new one coming out, the GT that we talked about, I think like 2 episodes ago. There's a lot more motorcycles coming into that because I think the way of the world now, it's harder and harder for people to own multiple motorcycles. We've seen that in the car world, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's buying crossovers, not because crossovers are amazing, but because if you can only own one, you kind of want something sporty that can haul crap from Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever and still be fun to drive. And so, And so I think that's kind of what I've always joked that the Multistrada is not really a adventure bike. It's like a Porsche Cayenne.
Right, yeah.
It's just kind of a sporty crossover.
So right now, not just bike manufacturers, but brands. Any brand in the motorcycle space. What is the most exciting brand to you right now? Can be a manufacturer, but it doesn't have to be, is what I'm saying.
This is a really hard question for me. It's because there's a couple that I think are really interesting. MV Agusta, Moto Guzzi, CF Moto, Aprilia. It's the smaller companies that are interesting to me.
And I think it would be, right? The bigger guys aren't going to be taking big swings and leaps because they don't have to.
It's unfortunate that KTM had the financial troubles because in a normal year, you'd be saying KTM.
I think you and I have said for years that KTM's like our favorite brand.
Yeah.
Because it's hard not to love the audacity.
Yeah.
Right? Of like these really outlandish, sometimes horrible looking designs. But I love that someone's out there just taking a swing at it and doing something totally ridiculous. They really do have a like little brother picking a fight with their big brother. And in this case, their big brother's always Honda, right? They've kind of got this mentality to them that I loved. But then in the last year and a half, it sort of was like the cover got pulled back and you realized how totally mismanaged they were.
Right, which is unfortunate.
It all comes apart because all of the money men, right? All of the executives, all of the guys making all the financial decisions totally botched it. But all the creatives, all the engineers, they didn't have anything to do with that.
You have the Germans, right? Mm-hmm. And you think of like BMW and Porsche, German engineering. And then you think of like Italian engineering and you have like Ferrari, Ducati, whatever, Lamborghini. And Austria has always split the difference, right? Like it's kind of in between the two and it's a little bit of both. And KTM seemed to exemplify that beautifully, right? Because you had this kind of German, really pragmatic, function over form juxtaposed with like a little bit of Italian eccentricity and like we're going to make a 1300cc dirt bike with knobbly tires.
Well, and then they would do outlandish things like, hey, we're really good at bikes and we're really good at fast things. What if we make kind of a little mini go-kart / supercar for fun, just for fun?
Right. Yeah. And it was cool.
Yeah. And it's beautifully engineered. And then it's also beautiful.
Yeah.
Right. Like, So now this turned into a love letter to KTM, but I can't say KTM now because I feel like they've totally,
and we don't know where it's going to end up, right? Like,
and maybe it all comes good, and maybe this Bajaj, I don't know how you say it exactly, but the
how it's
Indian
spelled.
ownership group, maybe they basically infuse it with a bunch of cash and keep it as this prestige brand. I hope that's what happens.
Because they became I remember when the first 690 Duke came out, and it was the goofiest looking thing you ever saw. And we all fell in love with it. As soon as you rode, you had a version of it at
I
one
had
point.
the 690 SM. I love that bike.
Oh my gosh. They were a joy to ride. Those Dukes were just the ultimate hooligan machine. You would never wear out a front tire because it never touched the ground.
Everything about it was like their whole like ready to race mantra. It was like, it wasn't ready to race. It was ready to cause trouble. Like it was ready to maybe send you to jail.
Funny, like you're ready to race.
Even their advertisements, because I remember when I got mine, the advertisement, I can still remember the ad. It was shot like a Michael Bay action movie.
Oh, right.
And it was this like getaway scene of this like a black 690 SM and an orange 690 SM chasing each other in the scene.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
And one guy like jumps the roundabout, and it's the whole thing was nuts. You're like, what brand condones this? Only KTM. Yeah.
And I love that about him. I loved that. Yeah. And I hope we don't lose
I
that.
hope we get it back.
So what brand is most exciting to you? What's the one that's
Well,
what's
did
your
you pick?
I don't know if I have a hard time picking. I think I might like Moto Guzzi's interesting, but they're also too entrenched in tradition. And I think that's holding him back. The CF Moto is doing some really crazy cool stuff, but there's also that like Chinese element of like going a little too fast, right? The quality is still a little dubious because they move so quickly. MV Agusta, they make some of the most beautiful. We talked about one of those last week. We had a viewer who was curious about one. I think they're gorgeous, but they're also kind of unobtainable for a lot of us because like
getting services.
Yeah, the dealer network, right? Oh, I'm not going to get a Ducati because their dealer network is just too darn big. You know, like kind of a thing. So it's the bike that's most interesting probably would have to fall on Aprilia because they have the most potential right now. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if I have an answer. I don't know if that's
I think that's an answer. That's all right.
So where would you go?
I think if I had to pick a manufacturer right now, I am fascinated by CF Moto. I agree with you.
They're taking big swings, and you got to appreciate that.
The stuff that they're coming out with, like what we saw at ICMA, however you pronounce
ICMA?
it. Yeah. What we saw at the last show, they had a new entry in every category.
Right. Their adventure bike, I was really smitten with their adventure bike.
Their adventure bike looks brilliant. Their super bike looks brilliant.
Yeah,
their entry
V4,
level looks
Come on, they're taking on a V4? Yeah.
Like in every category, I'm watching them go all the way to the end of the scale, and they're doing a brilliant job of it, at least on surface level, right?
Yeah, and I guess because I have some inside information on CF Moto, I just hope they don't put the cart before the horse, if we're going to say it that way.
Well, but I guess my thought on this is they're going to, right? They're going to put the cart before the horse. They're going to bite off more than they can chew. And this first little round of bikes, it's not going to hit the mark perfect. And I know that. But we saw this same thing. If you go look at the history books, we saw the same thing when Japan started making.
Oh, yeah. Yamaha, the piano company, came up out of nowhere and started sponsoring MotoGP. And then all of a sudden, King Kenny.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And
that's
like
a great
the
analog.
first swing at it is a total swing, and it's not going to hit the mark exactly. But the second go around, they're going to be right there.
Yeah.
So this, like the easiest one to point to for me, because it's going to be, we're going to have such a great way to compare it, is when they first go to World Superbike with that new V4.
I can't wait.
They're going to. I don't. They haven't announced when, but they're absolutely going to.
Yeah, I hope they do.
You don't build something like that without.
You're like going to go embarrass some.
You're here to go. You're here for a fight. Like you showed up ready. So, but that they're going to go out there and they're going to get a bloody nose, and they're going to be at the back of the grid, and they're not going to do well the first year or two or three or whatever, but they're going to get it figured out, right? The speed that they're going and stuff, and the effort that they're putting behind it, they're going to get it figured out, and they're going to be impressive.
Now, here's something I think people need to remember, because like China gets a really bad rap, and not for bad reason.
Sure.
But I'm old enough to remember when that was Japan, that, when we would go, like the junk tools would all say made in Japan.
Right.
And there's even a gag in that in one of the Back to the Future movies where, Doc Brown holds up the circuit board and he goes, "Oh, I see why this failed. It says right here, made in Japan." And Marty goes, no, that's where all the best stuff comes from.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And you look at like the constant improvement and they have the resources. And I think now they're making more solar panels than anybody else, and their solar panels are lasting 4 times as long as anybody else's.
It's just that we've seen this play out before, and I think we're going to watch it play out again.
And if I live long enough, India will come next.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Like it'll be India is going to be the really cheap stuff. And all of a sudden India, and then someone will fall off the list because England was a superpower for a long time. And now they have the superpower blues. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, to me, that's the most interesting brand right now. Like I'm just fascinated to see what CF Moto does next.
I like that they're taking the big risks, right? And they're big enough to make them, well, heck, they are making them affordable. There's several people who do our track days with us.
Yeah.
Zoe, if you're listening, I hope you are. Her little CF Moto has been a freaking superstar for years out there. I think 3 years now her bike's been out there.
All right, we talked about the best track day open bike for going racing.
The leader bike.
I'm going to combine your best not open. So like your sane bike. So this could be
that people should get.
This could be a middleweight that maybe you are interested in racing, but light. It could just be a track day bike. This could just be, hey, I bought this. It's a fun toy. I didn't totally break the bank, and I want to check out track days. I want to see what this is all about. Mine,
it sounds so blasé, but I think that freaking RS or Tuono 660 is
pretty good.
And I don't know if you've noticed this, but the people who come out and they do their first track day or whatever, and they do it on whatever bike they have, and they say, "What bike should I get?" And I almost always recommend the 660. And the ones who go buy a 660, they do track days with us for years. Yep. Whereas you don't see that with any other bike.
I think that 660, more so than the R7, I'm not trying to knock the R7, but the 660 has a little bit of character. It's a bit more powerful than the R7. It's a little more interesting. I think it
has a better electronics package.
I think it is easy to ride still because it's this middleweight twin. It has plenty of torque and it's easy to ride in that sense, but you don't get bored of it.
Right.
Because it has enough power. It kind of keeps life interesting a little longer.
That 660 makes more power than the engine size.
It shouldn't make, it makes almost 100. It's like 90 something. It shouldn't make that much.
And it's light, and that's part of why. And now this could change because Yamaha updated the R7. I think they fixed some of the issues with it. I think it's getting a better chassis and better suspension. So the R7 might give it a run for its money.
Maybe it's a better bike this coming up.
But yeah, and what's interesting too is the Tuono or the RS. I honestly like the Tuono 660 a little bit more, even on track day for a track day bike, because the 2-bar for a lot of people is easier to work with.
Yeah. Well, and I think for a lot of folks who aren't all the way in, like, yep, track is life and that's all I care about. I don't want to drag knees. If you're somewhere in the middle, or if this is just a thing, because there's lots of people who, for them, a track day is a thing they do once or twice a year.
It's expensive to do a track day, right?
And it's like, I'm going to go and do that twice a year, but the rest of the time I'm on the street. Yeah, I think the 2-bar is absolutely the right decision for that type of person.
You talk to a lot of people who spend a lot of time around tracks, and the 660 comes to the top of the list
pretty
regularly. Yeah.
So I will throw out 2 other options.
Okay, this is more interesting.
So I think the easy one is the R9.
Oh, yeah. Well, I haven't ridden an R9 yet. Have you?
I have not ridden one on track yet, no. I've ridden one. Yeah, I've ridden one.
Okay, so you have more knowledge on the R9 than I do.
The engine's great.
I
like that triple.
Well, yeah, because that MT-09 SP I thought was a hell of a good bike.
Yeah, I think that triple's great. My actual concern when the R9 was coming out was that so the R6 that it replaced, basically, that thing was an absolute scalpel.
Yeah, no, that's the best absolute objective is scalpel.
Yeah, it was a razor's edge. It had a single purpose, and it was absolutely garbage at everything else.
Right. And it could hurt you if you didn't know what you were doing.
I used to race one. I loved my R6. It was a tool for a job.
You had more than one. You've had a couple of them.
I had a couple. Yeah, I've had a couple R6s. Yeah. But it was an absolute weapon. It was a tool for a job. I was worried that the R9 would swing too far to the like street comfort.
Oh, and it's super bikey.
Well, it is definitely less hard edged than the R6.
Well, that's a good thing.
But it isn't so far to the other end that I'm like, oh, this is not a middleweight race bike anymore. It's something else. It's still pretty proper, and you can get it set up to work. My concern when I first saw the R9 was I was concerned that the chassis was going to be too cheap and not good enough for a race bike. And I was concerned that the swing arm was going to be too cheap. Because if you look at the swing arm, it's a really basic looking,
right? It doesn't
unbraced swing arm. It looks like a cheap swing arm.
It looks like an SV650 swing arm.
Yeah. I was like, uh-oh, that's not a good sign.
Yeah.
I've been proven wrong. It works pretty well. The guys who race them love them. It's a great bike. I think that new middleweight version is a very interesting class. But we talked about this already today. I still think that if you're going to go out and if you're like a younger person and you're like, I'm interested in track days, go buy yourself a slightly used, clean CBR 600.
Yeah. Not an SV650.
They're so good.
Everybody has an SV650 story. I have an SV650. I don't know if you have an SV650. There's almost
no. All like I have is everybody else's SV650 story.
Everyone talks about the joy. Go buy a CBR 600.
You can get one for cheap because they've been around for ages. They haven't changed since 08. So parts are so easy to come by. They're cheap to run. They're cheap to own. They're so easy to ride.
And the knowledge base is deep on that
so
bike.
Easy. Yeah. Anyway, that's my pick for track day bike.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think my top two would be the 660 or the CBR 600. Yeah.
All right. What is the best of all the bikes that you've gotten to ride in the last couple of years, Dave? What is the best bike that you don't want to be seen on? What's the one that's like a guilty pleasure? Oh, that's kind of a fun bike. I enjoy riding it, but boy, it's kind of an embarrassing bike.
You can go two ways with this, right? There's the mini bikes, like all the mini bikes, the Papio, the Dax, the Grom, or you can go the other way, which is like the Challenger, or Charger, or the big, or the Diavel.
Oh yeah.
You know, like these big, they're the big power. To me, I think I would have to lean in on power cruisers because to me, I don't want to offend anybody, but like the power cruisers are kind of like the Dodge Ram pickup of the motorcycle world. Like,
I have another analogy for this, but we'll get to it.
I don't want to really hear it because like it's just this. They're kind of fun, but they say something about you that I don't really like. But they're great fun to ride. All of them are great fun to ride. But yeah, I think I would say I'm going to go with power cruisers. And I'm just going to leave it an open-ended power cruiser.
There you go.
Right?
All
Like
right.
I'm not going to call it any specific brand.
We're equally offending all of them.
All the power cruisers. Yeah.
It obviously it can't be the Dax. You made a great video of you riding a Dax all over.
Yeah, no, I haven't had to send that back to Honda yet. Honda hasn't asked for it back yet, and
they might not get it.
Maybe they.
Yeah, they may not get that one.
Really love
it's
that
a cute.
bike.
It's a cute little bike.
It is so much fun to ride. I don't even care if people like. All right, quick side story on the Dax. The cruiser dudes, a lot of the big cruiser dudes, they'll wave at you, and then they may see what it is. They take the wave back. They retract their wave, and I just give them like this because. That bike is a joy. It's that to me, like, and that's all the mini bikes, like the Grom, the Dax, the Monkey. I can't remember what Kawasaki is. Their KZ125 or whatever. I can't remember what it's called.
Z125 or something.
Z125,
something like that.
They're joyful little motorcycles, and I'm going to call them a motorcycle because you change gears on them.
Well, they're kind of like this size.
Yeah. It's very much that size, yeah. What's interesting is that Dax is the exact same size as the original CT70, like within like less than an inch. It's a real, like, it's cooler than a scooter. It's less practical than a scooter.
Yeah.
But I don't care. They're so much fun. I don't care. Where the power cruiser,
So my analogy for you, I had the opportunity a couple weeks ago to go drive a Tesla Cybertruck for the first
Oh,
time.
did you feel the same? That's exactly what
I was in it, and it's like the tech is cool, and the like steer by wire's cool, like all these things are cool. And I looked to my buddy who owns this Cybertruck. I was like, man, I wish your windows were tinted darker.
Yeah.
All right, I like that one. All right, let's move on. I think this is gonna be our last question. I think we've run up our time here. We spent way more time on this list than I thought we would. I actually do want to do 2 questions. So we're gonna do 2 questions. We're gonna try and get through them quick though.
All right. We'll try to be succinct. I won't.
What is your favorite new trend in motorcycling industry right now? What's the thing that you're happy to see happening? I have one.
Well, why don't you go with yours? Why don't you answer yours? Because like maybe that'll spur my
So
memory.
I see a lot of kind of old heads cranky about all of these electric mini bikes, like this thing, and Surons and kids out on these electric bikes, and like, oh, they're ruining motorcycling, or they're ruining, like they should be on combustion engines and blah, blah, blah. I am so happy that they're on those bikes. I'm so happy that they want to go ride. I'm so happy that they're enjoying 2 wheels, that they are building a community around it. I'm so happy to see them excited about it. I'm so happy to see them causing some trouble on Surons. I'm so happy to see them kind of breaking some rules on Surons and these other things around neighborhoods and stuff. Yes, it's a nuisance. I totally get it. I live in suburbia. I totally get it. But it's kids outside on 2 wheels causing a bit of mischief, but ultimately not really causing that much trouble that's permanent, having a good time. Those will be riders as they get older. Those will
at least a good percentage of them will.
Right. I would say if they didn't have that opportunity now, then they have no chance of being a rider later.
Well, you've planted the seed. Well, exactly. I made a whole video on this topic. I absolutely agree with this, because like it's this silly thing that's behind it. So I made that last video about motorcycling is dying and we're killing it, or whatever the topic was. And then this showed up in the driveway.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, whoever sent it to me. I don't remember the name of the company that sent this to me. There's no name on it, but it's all black and stealth and cool. I wrote it. I will probably die on it. It'll kill me. It's so much insane levels of. You've ridden it.
I rode it in your driveway, and it would not stop wheeling.
Yeah, it wheelies everywhere.
Dave, I feel like I need a helmet right now.
Yeah, I know, right? Like it's ridiculous levels of fun. So I do agree with that. I do agree with that. I think the other trend that I really like, and I'm gonna call on a channel sponsor really briefly on this, but I think they have the right attitude. And the sponsor is NBT Clothing, and their whole thing is like nobody's really wearing gear. And I've been complaining about gear for a while because I think a lot of motorcycle gear looks stupid.
Yeah,
it looks so lame.
Not everybody wants to look like little Repla Racer.
Oh my gosh, right? Yeah. Like, what's the joke? Like, I have to choose between looking like a Power Ranger or a pirate.
Yeah,
and I've hated that for years, and I've always tried to find, like, can I just get a black leather jacket with armor in it? Why do I need something with, like, an orange zigzag? Another company that I really love, they're famous for using, like, turquoise and orange and teal and gray, and you're like, I don't want to wear that. Right. I don't want to look like that.
Yeah.
And maybe, like, I'm old. Like, I made this joke to Alpine Stars recently, and they're like, yeah, you're old. But I love that a lot of the trends in gear is getting a little more classic.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I always think back to, like, the original Vance and jacket, or the original Bell Staff 4-pocket touring coats. Now, they had no armor in them. They were terrible by all
safety-wise, right? Yeah.
Modern measures. They weren't waterproof. They didn't have any venting in them, but they looked cool.
Well, but I think the point you're making is, I want to look cool on the bike, but I am also going to spend some time in this clothes off the bike.
Yeah, like I'm going to walk into a cafe.
I have to go in and get lunch.
Yeah.
I don't want to look like a total...
And even riding the motorcycle, like if I'm wearing like orange and red and turquoise zigzags across my chest, like, I don't think that's cool. I don't, like... It was like, people look now at the 90s, like the old leathers, like the field show leathers with the splashes of color. Even then, I thought it was a little much. Like, I'm not that loud.
It's just not for everybody, right?
Yeah, and so I really love this whole trend, like what NBT is doing and other companies are doing, where I think NBT has a jacket that looks like a freaking Carhartt work coat, but it has armor in it and vents, and you're like,
that's clever.
I like that.
I
like that it looks just like normal clothes, but because the technology now with like the non-Newtonian
Yep.
armor that's really soft and pliable until energy hits it and absorbs it. We can do such cool things with gear, and not every company is like they're just kind of stuck in like this motocross world. Like,
all right, last question.
All right,
you have to be able to go get one today, and not with your own checkbook.
Oh, so I get to buy any motorcycle,
dream bike, whatever it is, but it has to be a currently available. Could go buy one realistically.
So I have to buy one now. So that kind of gets rid of the old cool stuff.
So you can't go way back in the history books. You can't go buy a Britain. You can't.
You can't go buy a Britain. Yeah, because Britain would be the answer.
Exactly, right?
Like we would all go buy. I think I would go with the Superleggera V4.
Okay.
Because we know someone who has a Superleggera V2.
It is a special bike.
And it's under 400 pounds.
It's a pretty special bike.
And it looks so good in real life. It was the first one I had ever seen in real life. I'd seen him in photos and you're like, yeah, it's pretty. Saw it in real life. And then he didn't let me ride it. I didn't ask to ride it.
Right.
But I took it off the side stand. I'm like, oh my gosh, I think my mountain bike weighs more.
Feel like a toy.
It did feel like a toy.
Do you figure like, is there no fuel? Is something missing?
All carbon fiber, everything. It was, So the Superleggera V4 would be, might be the top of the list.
It's a good dream bike.
Yeah.
All right. I have two.
Oh.
All right. I have two. So the realistic one, and the one that may be on a list of bikes I want to buy at some point, would be I mentioned that the best open bike would be the BMW S1000, but the one I would go buy is the CBR 1000.
Oh, the RR. I asked Honda to send me one. They ignored my request. We'll see if they send me one.
Again.
I'm going to ask again. I'm going to ask again.
I really
love that bike.
Oh, I'm pretty infatuated with it. I think everything about it is cool. It has like that Honda level of precision and build quality that I love about them.
And it has some cool tech on it.
The split throttle bodies, like it has a bunch. I mean, there's just so much stuff about that bike that is just really, really badass. And I love it. And I think to build one up to go racing is a fortune, but it is such a cool thing. I love it. Anyway, so that would be one of them. The other one at the other end of the scale, I would love either a Kramer or the Kramer 890 or like the KTM RC8C, which is a Kramer, same bike.
Yeah, but the KTM comes with the orange frame where the Kramer comes with the green frame. I would go with the orange frame.
There's a Kramer 890 RR, something like that. It comes with this cool matte blue.
Matte blue, not their green.
The paint job is really slick. We'll put up a photo here of it. It's pretty cool.
Kramer, especially for you, where you ride exclusively on the track, the Kramer is a short.
Such a special thing.
Those things, and if you're not familiar with Kramer, I'll put a link down in the description. No affiliation. We're going to give them some free advertising here. Kramer is an incredibly cool company. They are doing some neat things. I know them. I've never talked to them directly, but I talked to people who talk to them directly. Great things. They say great things about these guys over at Kramer. So
this is very much Kramer's boutique, right? It's very small, very like the team is, I don't know how big the team is, tiny.
Well, think about how cool it is that if KTM, who has their own MotoGP team, comes to you and says, will you make us 500 or however many
I think
RC8Cs?
It's 100 a year that they did for the years they did.
Is that what it was? Like,
I think it's only 100.
Will you we're going to put our name on your version of our bike.
Right.
Like,
so the quality's pretty high. Right?
Yeah. And they made something that actually works.
Yeah.
And you've ridden one. I haven't. You've ridden the RC8C or
they're the most, the 890 version especially. It's the most badass little, like, ready to roll track day guy bike that there is. The unfortunate part is they're very much built for the rich dentist who just wants a track day toy. In reality, like, they're very boutique, they're very special,
those.
Right? Yeah, because it's an extremely expensive toy. They even have a naked version, like a Duke. I don't know if you've seen this thing.
I have seen it. Yeah.
It's like $50,000.
Right. It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money for an 890 Duke. But it's just such a cool thing. I'd love to have one. The 890 track version's like 330 pounds or some crazy number.
Which is that's like 100 pounds, 25% less than your average.
It's kind of bananas. Yeah.
I've ridden the 690 And if you've ever been around a Kramer, you obviously have. But if you've ever been around a Kramer, you go look at it and you look at all the attention to detail, how the rear master cylinder is mounted, how it really is a turnkey race bike. I rode the 690, which is a single, it's a thumper. It was magic.
Yeah.
It was incredible. Like everything about it just worked.
Yeah. There's one little side story with them. So there used to be a website called Asphalt and Rubber. Do you remember this website?
I miss that website. Yeah. Are they still around?
So Jensen, who ran that was his website. He left to go work for Kramer.
Oh, no kidding.
That's why that website all kind of shut down. And I loved it. He did a great job. He's a great writer.
Yeah, yeah. And Asphalt and Rubber was like every day.
I would check it every day. Yeah. It was great. Anyway, he went to go work at Kramer. I just love the brand. I love the whole thing that they're trying to do. I think it's just really cool. So it's one of those two is on my dream list. So
I love it. All right. Let us know what bike is on your list. What are your favorite bikes? What are your most underappreciated bikes that you wish got more attention?
And what's the bike that you would be embarrassed to be seen on?
What is what is the bike you would be embarrassed to be? You would ride it, but you would be embarrassed to be seen on it.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thanks. Appreciate it.
We'll see you next week.